All right, let's just see where the time is. Good. All right, friends, it looks like on my clock it's 9 o'clock, just after 9. Um, so, welcome to all our visitors this morning and our old members. And just for information, every Friday morning we have at 9 o'clock our business chat. It's an initiative sponsored by the Community Chamber of Commerce. And it works on a basis that it's a mixture of a networking meeting, but also giving a platform to our members so that they can introduce a topic. And then how we do the networking is based on the topic, which will be introduced for about 20 minutes. Afterwards, we all participate in comments and questions and answers. And if you're active in terms of participation, people will want to start connecting with you. So make sure you participate actively. And then if I can also ask everyone to just go to the chat room and put their contact details of them and their company there, so that if people find you interesting, then they can look you up offline and take it further. So yes, welcome on a chilly Friday morning. And I'm happy to introduce to you one of our members, Stella Coetzee. And she has got quite an interesting background. I've met her, I think, was it now a year or 2 years ago? The time flies. But she comes out of the very strong corporate world where dog eats dog. And she reached a top position there in terms of financial management with one of the very strong listed companies, with the background of a chartered accountant. So she's not a lady to be taken lightly, but when you see her, she's got this pleasant demeanor, and she's just decided, you know what, I've had it with all this corporate stuff. I want to do my own thing. And then she went into mediation. So Stella, without me saying too much and eventually saying the wrong things, let me give you back the screen and give it over to you to tell us what is Stella about and what is divorce mediation about.
Thank you, Jasper. Let me just share my screen here. Can you all see my screen? Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning and giving me the opportunity to tell you a bit more about myself and my business. So let me start by giving some background. Sorry, I just want to, oh, there you go. Okay, some background about me. So after school, I studied BCom Industrial Psychology. I wanted to go into human resources, but things didn't work out as I planned initially. So I first worked for economists, and then later on, I worked in a finance department for a large corporation. And later on, I just decided, no, you know what, I want to take the next step as a finance manager, but I needed some more education. So I started studying to become a CA. Long story short, that was completed in 2011. And I also did my top articles with the company. But from 2007, I was employed as a finance manager for various different divisions within the large corporation. And then fast forward, quite a few life-changing events happened in my life that made me decide, you know what, this corporate life is not for me, and I want to do my own thing and make a change in people's lives. So, for instance, my mother died. I got divorced in 2007. We had to sell a house where I lived in for 18 years. So all of that brought me to this decision to leave corporate and to start my own business. So by August 2019, I left a big corporate company, and initially I wanted to do accounting, but then I decided, no, I'm going to go into family law mediation. So I did a course, and by the time that I completed in April 2020, lockdown hit us. But anyway, that didn't stop me. I carried on with my accreditation. So now I'm accredited with SARM and NAPFAM. SARM is the Association for South African Association for Mediators, and NAPFAM is the National Accreditation Board for Family Mediators. I've also been recently appointed as the treasurer for the SARM Exco. I'm also registered with ADR, which is the International Register for Mediators. So just looking at mediation in South Africa, there's been a boom for mediation in the last couple of years. And then especially last year during lockdown, government recommended that mediation should be sought after for all civil disputes. So it's not only family law, but also commercial law, labor law, medical negligence, as well as personal injury cases. And the reason for this was to reduce the huge backlog that's currently at the courts. Then also, which played a huge impact in mediation, is Rule 41A of the Uniform Rules of the Court that came into effect on the 9th of March last year. So this means that mediation in the high courts are compulsory in the sense that with every new action or application, when a plaintiff serves a notice of intention to litigate, there must be a notice to that the plaintiff agrees or opposes a referral for dispute or to mediate. And then in turn, when the notice is served, the defendant must also then respond to say whether they agree or oppose the motion to refer the dispute to mediation. And reasons must also be provided for the decision. And the implications of that is, should a party decide not to mediate, there could be a cost order later on imposed on the parties. So the South African Law Reform Committee's Family Dispute Resolution Bill of 2020, that is quite a mouthful, when this bill gets promulgated, the mandatory mediation will be applicable for all family law disputes. The court will have a power to refer a matter to mediation, and parties have the right to opt out of mediation within 5 days. The party must give written explanation for their refusal, and the parties who opted out without good reasons or valid reasons, if the court finds that it's not good enough reasons, there could be a cost order for the party that didn't want to mediate. So this is really a huge implication for people going to court. Then also, in terms of the Children's Act 38 of 2005, there's various child-centered disputes that requires mandatory referral to mediation. In terms of Section 21(3), where unmarried fathers wants to litigate to be acknowledged their parental rights and responsibilities for their children. The Children's Act says that you must first try mediation before you approach the courts. And then the same thing in Section 33, parenting plan between co-parents must first be negotiated between the parties before the court is approached. Okay, and then there's also various case law that had a huge impact on mediation. In the Van der Berg versus Leroux court case, where there was litigation around the variation of a care order, and Townsend Turner versus Morrow on contact dispute, the judge ruled that mediation was actually necessary, and they must go back to mediation and not fight this battle in court. So just on care and contact, there is, previously we used to speak about custody of children. There's no more custody in the, as per the Children's Act, and we talk about care and contact of the children. And then lastly, also the Brownlee versus Brownlee case. In that case, there was 500,000 to 750,000 combined legal costs between the parties. And this was actually a huge implication for mediation in South Africa, where the judge said that mediation in family matters is a useful way of avoiding protracted and expensive legal battles, and that litigation shouldn't necessarily be the first resort. So attorneys are really compelled to explain the benefits of mediation before they go to court. So what is divorce mediation? So first of all, let me tell you what it's not. It's not marriage counseling, because there's a lot of people that actually think that when you say come for divorce mediation, they think you are going to repair the marriage, and that is not the case. So divorce mediation is a voluntary process unless the court orders that the parties must go to for mediation. It's a confidential process where the mediator cannot disclose any information around the case to any third party. And it's also without prejudice. So later on, whatever is said in the mediation cannot be used in a court of law if litigation is sought after the mediation. Mediation also focuses on the needs and the interests of both parties as well as the children. And it enables the parties to reach amicable solutions where the parties decide on the outcome of the mediation and not necessarily the court that decides. Okay, so why should one then choose mediation? Apart from everything else that I've spoken about now, it's very cost effective. It's a confidential process. The mediator is neutral and do not judge any party. The parties are empowered and in control of the outcome. So they decide what is best for our children. We know our children the best, instead of a court or a judge that decide what is going to happen with care and contact with regards to our children. Every couple relationship, every marriage, every divorce is unique. And so there is unique solutions that can be negotiated for every separate divorce. It's also a voluntary process where you can stop at any time. If you feel like this is not working for you, you are free to stop the process. It's less stressful than a litigation case. And uncontested divorces gets preferential court dates compared to litigation cases. It's a much shorter process than litigation. And the mediation also facilitates a more amicable relationship between the parties after the divorce. And this is especially important where children are involved. It enables, mediation enables those who know the children the best, namely the parents, to make decisions on the welfare of the children. And the fact that mediation reduces conflicts and improves communication between separating parents is of a great benefit to children, since as it's not as much the separation of the family, but rather the continued conflict between the parents that may harm the children. So the mediator works within the boundaries of certain legislation, the Children's Act, Maintenance Act, Divorce Act, as well as the Domestic Violence and Matrimonial Property Act. Okay, so from my business perspective, with the services that I offer as a mediator, is two-tiered. Firstly, pre-divorce mediation, where I can do parenting plans, maintenance agreements, as well as the divorce settlement agreements. I'm not going to go into any details over that. And secondly, post-divorce services, where after a divorce, maybe 2 years down the line, the children or the parents' circumstances has changed, and there is changes that needs to be implemented in the parenting plan, as well as changes that could affect the maintenance. I also help couples where, not couples after the divorce, where there is a situation, especially now in lockdown and COVID-19, where people has maybe lost their jobs, and the one party is maybe in arrears with maintenance. We can mediate to come to a solution how to catch up on the arrear maintenance. And then I also deal with Section 22 agreements. That is agreements where there is a third party involved that wants parental rights and responsibility for children. For instance, the mother and father is divorced. The father had a right to see the children, but maybe he goes off, he immigrates, and he's not going to see the children. And his parents, so the grandparents of the children, maybe wants to see the children often, and one can then set up an agreement to accommodate that. So just some interesting facts about divorce. In 2016, they said that 40% of divorces in South Africa don't make the 10-year mark. In March, oh, sorry, let me just come back. Earlier in the year, in March this year, as per Stats SA, the average age of first-time Black African male divorces were 35 to 39 years, and the average age of first-time other population male divorces was between 30 and 34 years. So that was just quite interesting to me. I don't know if it relates to a cultural thing or what, but I thought that's an interesting stats. And then during 2019, 23,710 divorces were registered with Stats SA for the last 12 months, from April last year till March this year. And it's actually 6% less than in 2019. And you would expect it that the divorce rate would actually be more, but I think this is not a true, my personal view, is this is not a true reflection of the divorce cases. This is just a reflection of what was actually registered and went through the court and that was finalized. And I think because of lockdown, where the courts were closed, that impacted in a lesser amount of divorces being finalized. So that was me on my business. And I think I just want to also say that, you know, I spoke about divorce mediation in South Africa, but not just especially because this is now a business chat, you know, for people with businesses, that they must first think of trying to mediate if there is an issue with an employee, with a supplier, with a client, whatever. Try and mediate first than going the litigation route. So as I explained, all the benefits in mediation, and of course it's saving you a lot of money, which most businesses are trying to avoid costs as far as possible. So if that's me, thank you very much for listening. And if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.